Pravdin. Table Topics presents RPGeez. This is my co-host Death. Here today we have our first guest ever, Saibrock.
I'm Saibrock.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Let's do some small talk.
And the immediately small
all
talk.
right.
Ends.
Yeah. Cool. How are you guys?
Dying from living.
Dying from. Yeah.
I'm good. A lot going on.
It's
I'm
about
getting a lot done.
that time, isn't it?
All right. Small talk's over. Unless you want to continue.
Well,
I'm not here for small talk.
You have a list, as you can see, of topics right there.
I do.
Do we want to just go down the list
and go through some of them? Sure.
All right. Personal progress and growth.
Sure.
What's that about? Just like your life story in regards to tabletop.
Just
gaming?
recently, in general, sure. Pain is the best teacher. I've gone through a lot lately, and I've grown a lot.
I think probably the most significant growth and development in my tabletop gaming career, if you will. Gosh, it has to have been 2 years by now. When I really there was a breaking point for me where I really decided that I hated playing D&D 5th edition. It wasn't just like little annoyances anymore. Like I couldn't tolerate it. Like this is it. This is my last campaign. I'm not playing after this, and I want to just ride out the campaign to its conclusion. And we ended up ending that campaign early for other reasons.
But what tipped you? What was the tipping point?
You want to know what really the straw that broke the camel's back? Weirdly, forced movement rules. Do you know what the forced movement rules are in 5th edition?
Do you mean like push and pull? Or what?
Yeah, like pushes and pulls. You know what the rules are?
No saves sometimes, or just a save.
There are no rules.
Yeah.
There's no rules. The game does not define a push or a pull. It doesn't say can you push or pull them vertically into the air so they fall? Can you move them laterally and then towards or away from you? It's completely open to interpretation, but I had a whole structure of rules that I was certain was in 5th edition because I had subconsciously imported them from 4th. When I first started playing 5th edition,
I know 4th a lot better. And I was like, wait, they didn't have 4th rules?
I took the rules from 4th edition and just assumed they were the same. And so I was applying those rules consistently across for 8 or 9 years in 5th edition. And when I realized that it had tricked me into filling in the gaps in the rules, I was infuriated. I was mad about that for weeks.
Wow.
And that's when I really started digging into the game mechanics and realizing there's actually massive chasms here that the rules just say, let the DM figure it out.
Yes. They basically cover combat as best they can.
Burden.
Yeah. Sorry. By the way,
so anyways,
we have a lot to get to. I think that was some big talk. Let's get to some big.
Yeah, I have a tendency to ramble.
Your name is Saibrock or Saibrock's opinions. I don't think opinions are small talk. Tell us about yourself, kind stranger.
Right. So I am Saibrock. My studio, if you will, Saibrock's Opinions. My real name is actually Matthew, and this is the first place on the internet that Saibrock is actually the name of a character from my fantasy setting. That I made up while sweeping a roof years ago. I was, it's very boring work. I had a lot to think about, and I came up with the name Saibrock and decided that's a cool name. I'm going to keep note of that and use it for a character. It became a character that I really liked, and it wasn't quite a self-insert character, but it was a character that I liked a lot, and so I ended up using it. My previous username actually was NovaCat, but that also is a reference to Mech Warrior, so people use that elsewhere. No. But no one uses
that's why I was like, okay, NovaCat.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through all these, but you're welcome to.
Okay. My first exposure to tabletop RPGs, that's a more complicated question than you might imagine because, tabletop RPGs.
Okay, you get 30 seconds. Go.
I've been role-playing for as long as I can remember, basically since I was 6 or 7 years old, but I didn't have a rule structure for it until a friend of mine went off to college, learned how to play D&D, and came back and taught me. And by taught me, I mean he taught me a half-remembered version of the 3rd edition rules that he was taught by a friend who was teaching him from memory.
Wow.
So that was my first
down.
That was my first.
It was like a game of telephone.
Yeah. My very first D&D character was a human wizard, an albino wizard named Bebop. I remember this fondly.
Wow.
I died in my very first encounter to a war pony.
Yep.
Because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, it was my best friend from down the street. Went off to college, learned how to play it, and he introduced me to tabletop role-playing games, and I hated it. I just didn't like it at all. I said, this is dumb. We don't need these rules. We've been role-playing for years. Let's just go back and do that. The weird thing is that once you have a rule set, you can't really go back to free-form roleplay. You need a rule set. To an extent, once that shakes, you can't do without it.
Okay. By the way, please hold on to that specific horse for a future segment. There's one that is made for you. And
I'm excited.
And it's the one I want to ask. Yeah. Do you want to move on, or anything else you want to say?
Let's see. How many hours a week do you play design tabletop RPGs?
Yeah.
I don't spend as much time designing as I want to. I have a very busy schedule with work and other like social and family obligations. But I am currently running 2 different games, and I am playing in 2 other games. They are not every week, so some of them are like once or twice a month. But yeah, I was running a Legend of the Five Rings campaign that lasted about 2.5 years. That just recently finished.
Nice.
And so now the only campaigns that I'm running are a couple of D&D 4th edition games.
Got it.
I'm so glad you're playing 4E. I'm so glad. Everyone hates it, but it is the true edition.
We gotta keep the only D&D I'll play. We gotta keep this moving, guys.
Okay.
Charisma check. What kind of stories do you want your game system to tell, or your projects?
What kind of stories do I want my game system to tell? So I have a basically completed system. Like there is some more like cleanup that I can do to the writing, but it's more or less complete, and I'm kind of done with it, if we're being honest. And I call it Song and Steel, and it's basically a D&D ripoff for people who don't want to play D&D. So that game is meant to tell quick, punchy fantasy stories of high adventure. But very similar fundamentally to what you would see in D&D. The system that I am currently working on, which I call Code World, is meant to be a desperate battle against impossible odds, like absolutely intolerable odds. Enemies you literally cannot beat. Like the big bads of the setting, like at no point will the game say you can fight these guys. You can't. All you can do is resist, and you have to resist because capitulating is worse. And so these are incredibly powerful heroes of the resistance in this setting that are doing incredibly, badass action stunts against foes that are far more powerful than themselves for just heroic efforts for scraps of victory.
It's like heroes fighting gods.
Yeah, kind of. And well, you're not actually fighting the gods, because if the gods show up, you've lost. You are fighting the servants of the gods.
The emissaries.
And you have to get in, do your mission, and get out before they notice and show up.
I love that. Brilliant.
And
all right, you sold me. I'm buying it. Maybe. Let's keep going.
I haven't even I don't even have a working prototype at the moment. I've done no playtesting on this so far.
Well, we're gonna continue to talk about that. Boom, one of my favorites, crunchy or creamy. Do you prefer chunky or creamy peanut butter?
Peanut butter, creamy peanut butter. I don't need wood chips in my food, to be honest.
Chips? Whoa.
I can't have peanut butter, so I have no opinion on this.
Crunchy all the way, man. Or chunky. Are you designing more crunchy or creamy game system?
I am currently trying to aim for kind of like a 1/3 crunchy to 2/3 creamy, where the scene starts and everyone stops and thinks really hard about what's the most optimal play. That's what I don't want.
You don't want overthinking.
I want the gameplay to I want the gameplay to flow naturally from what the characters are designed to do, to let everyone play out their fantasy, play off of each other, and continue to role play and express their characters during action scenes. That's my
understood. Okay. A couple questions here, Death. If you have anything, chime in. But you said 2/3 creamy, 1/3 crunchy. So where's D&D on that? And would you describe your game similar complexity or crunchiness to Daggerheart? Because it sounds kind of like Daggerheart.
Obviously, D&D is not just one game; it's many games.
Of course,
most people are probably going to be familiar with 5th edition. I categorize 5th edition as crunchier than most people would categorize it as. I would say, on a scale of 1 to 10 of rules weight, I would say 5e is like a 6 or a 7. Because if you
Really?
really look at the rules closely and examine them for what they are, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of really unintuitive interactions there. That's a lot that the casual term doesn't recognize, doesn't know about.
Yes. I will mention just to like push Death into this conversation a little bit. Death is a crunchy person all the way. Their game looks like an accountant's sheet. And
I'm sorry, it is not compared to my inspiration of Rollmaster.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that for you, a D&D is probably a 3 or 4 out of 10 crunchy, maybe even a 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, if we're talking 3.5 or 4th, I would say it's crunchier, but I have never seen 5 be actual crunchy.
Right. Okay. I've played crunchy games that I like. Lancer is in my top 5 favorite games.
Wow, really?
I do like crunchy games for what they are. Like, I'm not saying that I like, lighter games over crunchy games always as a blanket statement. I'm currently, it's just a goal for the game that I am working on right now.
I totally get it. Hot takes. Give me a hot take. I'm gonna roll the dice. Do you want to roll or you want to just choose one?
Oh, I don't have any dice in front of me, so you would need to roll 4.
All right. 2. Give me a game design. Give me some of your game design grapes.
how much
would it have to involve pushing or pulling?
Yeah. No. You have to give something else. You have to give something else. You already used that card.
All right.
Unless you want to just take it in a different direction.
My biggest gripe, and the thing that I don't know if you want to call it a pet peeve or my personal bugbear about this, is when someone has decided that they're going to write a game. The games that they've played are not good enough for what they want. It's not doing it for them, so they're going to make their own game. All right. Yeah. So what's the first step? We're going to come up with a list of skills, and we're going to rename all of D&D's ability scores.
Okay. So you think that you think you don't like it when someone says, "I'm going to make that game but better," and it's just that game but renamed or reskinned?
I think it is a trap for new designers. It is. Honestly, I do the same thing.
They're called Heartbreakers for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. I started with I started dabbling in game design with a 3rd edition house rule. I was trying to fix Magic of all things. I spent maybe 100 hours on it and gave up.
Yes. I think a lot of game designers start with their own hacks and their own homebrews at the table. Also, I mean, my first ever thing like that I actually made, I didn't publish it, but I made it. It was like a level 0 D&D character generation method, for 5th edition. And maybe I'll put it out one day. We'll see. But
the first thing I ever made was me and my friends in college were like, let's play superheroes in Marvel and DC with our own rules. It got bad.
I agree with your hot take. So to me, it's like a warm take, but maybe to others, it's a hot take. Do you want to do another one, or we want to?
Sure,
we should probably move on. We got a lot to cover.
I got all day, man.
I could do this all day. All right. Table here now. The glorious. I don't think we skipped anything. Here's the glorious table topics topic table.
Okay.
Now you don't mess around here. Okay.
All right.
Now we're gonna roll this dice.
Out of the room.
Now there's stakes, because now you got to actually talk about something that you've made.
Okay.
Let me roll this dice.
I've made things.
1. Okay. Now let's see how well you can talk about them. Number 1, core mechanics. I rolled a 1. Core mechanics. Right. Boom.
The core mechanic of Song and Steel is not that interesting. I'm very proud of the Code World core mechanic, despite the fact that I have not tested it, so I have no idea if it works. But I'm very proud of it in theory.
We're gonna have some problems. You need to test that ASAP.
So the core mechanic is when you make an action roll, you're going to take one of your affinities and one of your approaches, combine them together. It's going to be 2 different numbers.
Okay.
Those are collectively known as traits. And for every trait that is active on a roll, you're going to roll a D12.
It's a D12 dice pool.
It's a D12 dice pool. But each trait can only score 1 success.
I'm going to roll this dice.
So if I roll, or if I'm activating 2 traits, and one of them's a 5 and one of them's a 7, and I roll 2 7s, I can't use them both on the 7. So that would be 1 success.
Okay.
And then characters have additional traits that can be activated under certain circumstances that would also add more dice. So you can go up to a dice pool of 5. Every success allows you to spend it on like bonus effects. So that's basically how you do critical effects.
The D12, those are the different options, or it's a success system.
all dice are dice are D12s. There's no other dice in the system, and you score success on the trait number or lower. So it's a roll under system.
It's a roll under dice. It's a dice pool roll under. Got it.
Yeah.
We can talk more. Again, there are more things to talk about with the core mechanic, but sounds like a more rules like game, so we can move on.
I just launched entirely into like, what are my core mechanics? I didn't even notice you moved the slide onto like, oh, here's a list of core mechanics to talk about.
It's okay. It's okay.
No, let me just talk about
I rolled a 4.
Core mechanic is.
I rolled a 4. I don't want to but it's like, what are the restrictions and limitations here of your system?
Restrictions and limitations. All right, so the restrictions and limitations of the core mechanic.
Yes.
So there's a couple of things here that are really important. It's the difficulty of a roll is not based on what you are doing. So the GM does not have a tool to say, all right, this is really hard, so your chances of success are going to be lower. That does not exist in this game. If you have played Blades in the Dark, you'll see it the same way there, as well as Powered by the Apocalypse. They have the same issue.
So is it because it's player facing? Is like the number determined by something on the player's side?
Yeah, because the traits are all on the player's character sheet.
Right.
And the traits are created by what again? It's approaches and what?
Affinities and approaches. So approaches is like how you are. Let me see if I can remember the list off the top of my head. Affinities are your approaches are force, empathy, savvy, and prowess, I believe. So that is like how you are trying to accomplish the task. And then affinities are what task you are trying to accomplish, which is destroy, maneuver, manipulate, and change.
Okay, that is a lot of information. I'm really sorry. I will give you a couple more sentences, and then we got to move on.
All right. So the idea is that you say what you are trying to do. The GM will tell you what action that is based on your description, and then the player determines what approach they're taking. And so the GM chooses one of your traits, and the player chooses the other. And then the player also has the power to activate additional traits based on special abilities and whatnot.
I love that. Okay. That's it sounds like a very like loose framework that allows a lot of creativity.
Yeah. And in regards to restrictions and limitations, aside from not having a lever for difficulty, there's you are able to generate a resource called momentum every time you roll. Basically, unused bonus successes. You can generate a momentum pool that is shared by all players.
That's amazing.
Which is also a limitation for design, because that means that every time you allow a player to roll for something, they may gain a resource to use later. And so you have to be very cognizant of when you are asking for rolls. And so the limitation is like, I have to be very careful about how these rules are written to allow players to roll at specific times. So they can't abuse that and just roll for things that don't matter in order to generate momentum.
Well, how important is balance in your game? It doesn't sound like, it sounds like the game is fairly balanced mechanically, but with that sort of banking, I just think that's like a narrative balancing tool, in my opinion.
I don't know how important balance is going to end up being in the long run, or how balanced indeed the game is going to be. But it is something that I know that I need to keep an eye on. It's something that I'm aware can become an issue, because I've seen it be an issue in other games.
I want to ask you more questions relating to why you haven't run your game and otherwise, but I want to move on as well. So we'll do that. All right.
Here we go.
We're back here. Yay. We're going to roll the dice again.
Roll the dice again.
3 skills and exploration. By the way, when you think you've exhausted this kind of thing, we can go to the settings section.
Hey guys, I can tell you, I've got so much time to talk about this. I will go basically forever.
Great.
You got me talking about things that I like and I'm interested in. I will never stop.
Did I rolled 3, right? Character creation.
Yeah.
One of my favorite topics, personally.
Stats and skills, I think it said.
Oh no! I think I rolled a 3 for character creation, and now I'm rolling for. Oh, by the way, we don't have to roll for this specific question. I just did races and backgrounds. Go.
Races and backgrounds. Okay, so Code World only has humans in it. It is Earth in the near future, like within the next couple hundred years. But there has been a fundamental change, kind of the same thing as like the Awakening in Shadowrun, if you are familiar, where the world has changed in very significant ways. So human does not necessarily mean you are Joe Schmo from the street. Human. Right. So characters are not defined by any kind of like racial means. You don't get any benefits from being from a specific culture. There aren't a bunch of like fantasy races like Shadowrun has. But you can the plan is to have characters that have modified themselves, have like fully integrated themselves into the meta code, which is basically the source code that runs the universe, which is why it's called Code World. Actually, turns out the universe is a simulation, and we can access the code and change it. That's
really cool. I love that.
So we have become aware of the Matrix itself.
Yes, basically. But there is no like real world. Like we can't wake up from it. This is our universe. This is the real world as we've always known it. But now we can edit the code. We can create object physics locally. You can go into what's called the back end, which is like the part of the code that isn't realized in space, and teleport from one space to another. It's that kind of stuff.
I do want to clarify one thing real quick. Earlier, you were talking about like this other game, right? All the dice and mechanics, that is for this game, right? This like techie game.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure, because we're trying, as long as we're talking about one project primarily, we're good. And I did just roll 5, so tell me about classes or class alternatives.
Okay. All right. So here's where I made a breakthrough a month or two ago. So characters are built with a couple of different layers. I don't know if you remember, if you've ever seen my video on like layers of character construction. So the base layer for a character is going to be called their archetype. This is not what they do. This is who they are. This is like what sort of person they are and how they relate to the other characters. So things like the leader, the hotshot, the empath, that kind of thing.
That's amazing.
If you think about it in terms of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like their abilities are all basically the same. Like physically, they're basically identical, but we know these characters and who they are based on their personalities and their relationship.
Yeah, there's like the leaders. There's like
the leader. Raphael's the hotshot. Mikey is it would be like the heart. The heart is one of the archetypes, and then Donnie, it would be the analyst.
I might steal this. Anyone listening, this may be shoved into my cultivator game or future games. So
mechanics are free. You can't copyright game mechanics. If you
see
a good mechanic, take it.
Not yet.
If someone does that shit, burn them down, please.
So that's the base layer. Everyone has one archetype, and the archetype will define a number of different things, such as additional ways to generate momentum and additional ways to spend momentum, and certain like things that you do while interacting with other characters. But on top of that, all characters have 2 classes. There are 6 archetypes and 6 classes. You only get 1 archetype, but you get 2 classes. And the classes are about what you do. And so these are very dynamic kind of classes. You have the Juggernaut, which is like the melee guy who like busts in and disrupts the enemy with explosive presence. You have the Code Slinger, which is like your mage. They like to like swap things around, and they're a battlefield controller. You have the Speedrunner, which is basically like how to find glitches in the code to like work your way. Like you can no clip through walls.
That's amazing.
Their special thing actually is that it uses a zones based battlefield. The Speedrunner can never be prevented from exiting or entering a zone. You cannot stop them from moving ever.
Okay, now I need to ask: do you have the back rooms or an equivalent?
Not the back rooms per se, but I have a thing called the back end. Which is, as I was saying earlier, like code that isn't being resolved physically, and so it doesn't exist anywhere. And that's what people use to teleport.
So
there's no space.
I had a question that I just completely lost it. What were we talking about a second ago? Classes. So you have 2 classes, right?
I have 6 classes.
Why? Well, I know, but you choose 2, right? So this is character. So why 2, and why do you call them classes?
I call them classes because they are packages of character abilities, and they're going to be like the primary way that you progress. Archetypes don't progress. You just get what's on the archetype. Classes progress over the course of a campaign, and they also define what the character does, which is, to me, the definition of a class. I kind of waffled for a while about whether or not I wanted to use a class-based system, and I decided that it is easier to express character concepts and archetypes as classes rather than as a classless system where you have to come up with and build your own archetype.
That is the main benefit of a class system, definitely.
Yeah.
By the way, are you cool to move off of character creation?
If you like, but I only named 3 of my classes.
Spit. Go.
Keep going.
There's the Juggernaut, the Code Slinger, the Speedrunner. There's the Arsenal. Their thing is they can generate weapons. They never run out of ammo, and they never run out of weapons. They can, if they lose their gun, they just make another one instantly, and they can also resupply their allies at the same time.
Action movie.
It is. This is an action game. This is 100% an action game. My goal for the game is to act the action genre what Blades in the Dark is to the heist genre.
So I don't mean to mention someone who's not here, but I do. Talk to Thinkaman. He's working on a system agnostic thing, and he does have a cyberpunk setting insert with special stuff.
I'm almost positive I have talked to him about stuff like this.
He is amazing, and you should talk to him more.
Anyway, the last two classes are the mask, which is like illusions and disguises. And then you have the avatar, who is the class where you are not on the like back at base, remotely piloting either like a mech or an artificial body or something like that. And so you can jump your consciousness from one body to the next, or change your body physically to match your preferences. Mm-hmm. They're literally phoning it in.
I love that.
That's hilarious.
Yes. So, and anything else before we go back? Because again, we want to maybe get through more, or we can move on to the settings.
As far as like the broad strokes of character building, I think that's it.
Amazing. Loved about everything I heard. I want to play it. I want to see a playable version on
honestly.
And I will help you because this is frustrating that you have not run it yet.
My first RPG was Song and Steel, and I did that basically just to show myself that I could make an RPG. Code World is the game that I want to play. Song and Steel isn't for me. I have a demographic in mind for it, but it's not me. Song and Steel or Code World is for me.
Whoa! You just said my trigger word, demographic.
Yeah.
You just said it, man. You got to watch out.
Okay.
You got to watch out, man, because we got a marketing and business segment. Don't spoil it.
All right.
I already spoiled it. Anyway, let's go back. Sorry. Okay. You want to do one more of this, or you want to?
Let's do one more.
Okay. You want to just talk? You want to spit off of these, or choose one? You want me to roll?
Let's do roll.
Okay. 6 progression. Also progression.
Oh no. All right. Progression. I haven't figured out for Code World.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of between two different possibilities. Either I will take a Powered by the Apocalypse / Blades in the Dark style of XP system where you generate XP based on like what you have accomplished over the course of the game, or like playing into your archetypes and your classes' fantasies. You get XP for that. I'm either going to do something like that, or I would take the progression system from Lancer and say after every mission you advance and you get.
So it's basically it's a milestone. You're considering those two options.
Yeah. And I can really do either one because I know that I have a specific structure for missions. Like there's a beginning, middle, and end to every mission, and that doesn't change. And so I can say like at the end of a mission, you advance. So that's a possibility for me. And honestly, if I had to bet, if I'm trying to predict the future, I think I'm probably going to go for that. I think I'm probably going to do.
It's more intuitive, honestly. I think to people, it's just like you did a thing, you get a thing. Yeah. Like it's so simple. For rules like game,
like it isn't. It's intuitive. It's handy. It's easy to adjudicate. The only issue with it is that I love XP. I love XP tracks and filling them up.
So what you could do is have an incentive system that is XP based, or maybe what if that momentum turns into XP at the end of the session that's left over.
I do not want to incentivize players to not spend resources.
I disagree, but anyway, let's move on. I'm not here to disagree. I am actually here to disagree, but not productively.
I mean, you're free to disagree.
I disagree a lot. Followers and domains. I rolled a 5. Talk to me about those things.
Followers and domains.
Can a player get minion?
Yeah. So, have you ever played Band of Blades?
No.
Yes.
Have you played any of the Blades in the Dark game or the
I played Blades in the Dark. Yeah.
Okay, so they have like a crew sheet, right? And then in Band of Blades, you also have a sheet for the bad guys that are following you, which I forget what they're called. They're like the fallen, the corrupted, basically like the undead chosen ones who are like chasing your party. I'm doing something like that. So the players are members of a resistance cell. That are currently working against one of the administrators, which are these like godlike people. They like through random chance, just imagine some random person out in the world gains the ability to edit the laws of reality at a whim.
I love
think of the chaos that results from that. People in general are terrible. These people instantly become tyrants, They divide the world up into separate parts. They are awful. They are the worst possible people through random chance.
Sounds familiar.
Right? And we make things about the things we know. So you are a resistance cell against them. So I'm planning on having a resistance sheet that advances more quickly if you succeed at missions.
Oh, so it's like pushback.
But if you succeed at missions, the administrators know about you more, and so they start ramping up their security. So like baseline threat levels also go up. But if you fail at missions, they're like, oh, well, these guys aren't such a big deal. And so that starts going down. So the bad guys and the good guys both advance. So like as your resistance sheet goes up,
I love
you get more resources, you get more allies, support abilities, that kind of thing. But
so
the administrator sheet goes up as well. Like you start, facing more elite enemies. They start unlocking new abilities, that kind of thing.
I want to see that. I want to play that. I want to buy that.
Question. Yes. Have you ever played the new XCOM games?
I played XCOM 2 for about 45 minutes.
Because I was asking you because they actually have a similar system, but it's time-based in the game because it's obviously a video game. But at set points, the enemies advance in strength, and you're supposed to be at that point.
I'm aware that they do that, the inspiration for me was definitely Band of Blades. But yeah, I'm sure that lots of other games do that, where like your faction advances and enemy factions advance at the same time.
I rolled a 2, so in your game, by the way, great answers. And by the way, you said it's kind of reminds me of the GTA, like the wanted stars, kind of like that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes. So I just rolled 2. How do you gain new abilities in your game?
I don't know. You want to hear a dirty little secret? For all I've been talking about Code World, I have not written out any class abilities.
You know what?
Want to strangle you and force you.
I don't at this stage know exactly what the looks like. I know a few things that it has to have, like baseline frameworks. But I haven't written out any abilities for each class. What I'm probably going to end up doing is having a list of special abilities for every class that you then you get when you advance your class, and maybe you'll choose either a new special ability or something else. I don't know yet.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to mention about progression before we head on back or move on?
Let me look at your list. No, I think we more or less covered it.
Amazing. All right. Back to the topic table. My favorite place to be, maybe. So you want to roll one more? You want to pick? You want to move on to setting the table?
Setting the table?
Yeah, it's a Magic the Gathering joke.
I'm apparently not into Magic the Gathering enough to
I'm not either, but it's like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like setting the table.
Let's do that.
I don't need to justify my jokes to you.
Yeah, you do.
Anyway. Well, now, I felt the need.
I don't think you're funny. You're not funny. I'm hilarious.
But if I am not affected by that, then I'm cool, so it's fine. Anyway, you want to roll one more? You want to move on?
Let's go ahead and move on.
Let's move on.
We're starting to touch on areas that I haven't quite fully defined yet.
Good.
Like fuzzy.
I'm going to push you more. I've been nice.
And I'm like, no.
I've been holding back here. I'll be honest. I'm holding my tongue a little bit.
We're half an hour in, and you've been holding back.
I've been holding my tongue real hard. Okay. Setting the table. Let's roll some stuff. D6.
Okay.
2.
I think I've got stuff for each. Governments.
Let's talk about your governments up in here.
All right. So
5.
The governments of Code World have more or less been fully usurped by these administrators. There are 6 administrators in the world. They're absolute tyrants. They are completely unanswerable to anyone.
Okay.
And as long as they are within their domain, the other administrators don't encroach on them.
Okay.
So you do have local governments for managing stuff and making sure things happen. But as far as the top end governments, it's all just these individuals with absolute power. They're basically sorcerer kings.
Got it. I did roll 5 history. How far back does the history go of this game? What does that look like?
So I'm still in the process of sketching that out. The last time I thought about it, I thought about 100 years ish into the future. So the early 2100s is when they discover that the universe is definitely a simulation. We can access the code. We can examine.
Yeah.
Modify it, and here's how that goes. And then the events of Code World would take place maybe 50 to 60 years after that, shortly after the rise of the administrators who wreck everything.
it's a very optimistic look on the future in 100 years from now.
Well, yeah, I started this about a year
messing.
ago, so
I'm just
yeah.
joking,
I mean,
man.
it is a dark and man, it's a very depressing setting if you think about it. Like, it would suck to live in this world. But
unless
hey,
you're the guy, the chosen, whatever.
sure. Yeah.
I rolled a 1. I rolled nations. So let's talk about the nations.
Nations.
Yes.
I presume it's just the 6 administrators' nations in quotations.
Right. So
Yeah,
I haven't come up with like a list. What I'm
you don't
probably
need to.
what I'm probably going to do is have each administrator have like a theme, and they model
Okay.
their domain after that theme, like whatever they're into. Like, let's say you had a favorite letter. Let's say it's X. Let's say you have absolute power and you answer to nobody. Let's say hypothetically, and so you name the Empire of X. My throne, it's the X throne.
1 second. I'm sorry. I am compelled to say this. X going to give it to you. That's it.
I mean, X is going
X
to give it to you.
If you're the X and you're the Emperor, X going to give it to you.
So you're naming everything X.
So like, no, it's that kind of thing where like whatever obsession a particular administrator has is going to be the theme for their domain. And so the different domains are going to look very different. And my idea is that when you are starting a campaign of Code World, you'll decide which domain / administrator you're going after. And so you pick that sheet, and that will sort of define the environment, the types of enemies you face, and that kind of thing. And the nations kind of run along those lines. You don't really have states anymore, really, in the true sense.
Sounds good. I think we got a decent understanding. Do you want to roll? You want me to roll, or just you want to pop off on governments? Do you want me to go back?
I think that is about the extent that I can talk about the setting. That's totally fine. I haven't like really fleshed it out yet.
That's fine. That is fine. You can workshop stuff. You're workshopping right now as you're talking to me, aren't you? Smidge.
The gist of like the way that I'm approaching world building for this game is that the world building is going to serve the mechanics. There's already been a few different like aspects of the world and how things work that exist solely to justify the mechanics that I want for the game.
That's the best way, probably. It's one of the best for sure. All right. Let's see here. Anything. Yes.
Oh, anything. That's incredibly broad. That's dangerously broad.
Talk about anything in your setting, bro. And then I rolled a 4. What would you choose to live in your setting? Yes.
Oh no, absolutely not. That's terrible.
Immediate.
The entire planet has been reduced to a shithole that exists for the pleasure of 6 randos who cannot get over themselves.
But what if they end up liking it? What if it's just like a chill time? Like what if you just grind real hard and it works out?
I'm sorry. Someone who can automatically alter your body and possible location in the world? No, screw that.
Yeah, and they answer to nobody. Like there is nobody that can stand up to them. So
do
no,
they
I would
fight?
not choose
or not really?
So here's I don't know how much of it. I have some backstory about like the interactions of the administrators, but I don't know how much of it I want to make like public knowledge.
Okay, hold it off.
Because my idea is that after I do Code World as a game, I start doing modules for it, and the modules might touch on some of this like secret history.
Do that. All right. Coolest. I rolled again. Coolest character / NPC in your setting.
I don't have any canon NPC or canon characters at all yet.
Non-canon. It doesn't have to be canon.
So the character that keeps coming to mind, like the character that I would play first if I was playing.
Yeah.
I would build a leader. It's so hard to choose. Probably a leader speedrunner arsenal. So I don't know what anywhere. That is. So the leader is the archetype. So I am there to support and command and encourage my allies. And then the 2 classes are speedrunner and arsenal. So speedrunner means I can get anywhere, anytime. You can't stop me. I'm so fast you can't stop me. And then arsenal is I have all the guns all the time.
So just like a fast killer leader.
Yeah. So I would end up zoom this way, like do a wall run up a building. Now I'm up in the
Grenades
air and
everywhere.
I spawn a couple of like Gatling guns in my hands, fire off a couple of shots at this attack helicopter that's trying to take me down. And then like, oh, these are too heavy. Drop those. I could just make those again later. And like, it's that kind of character. So it's fast. It hits hard, and it's there to support allies. So I'm doing damage, and I'm there to like be the spear tip for this operation.
I'm gonna do one more roll, and we'll see how we feel.
Sure.
Okay, starting off the first episode, real dark. Number 1, most dangerous / illegal substances in your setting.
That's good. That's really good.
Death came up with that.
Hey, bud, I have nothing for that. I have not thought about that at all.
Okay, but what about real life stuff? Is there real? Well, it's in the future, right?
I mean,
So
like, it's our world in the future with these sort of like, vaguely fantasy-ish kind of additions.
Make something up.
The most dangerous / illegal substance
that you can think of that would be in your setting that exists or does not exist.
I'm going to make it up right now. So there is a thing in this setting called a golem. Golems are artificial people that the administrators can make to be their servants / soldiers. They are perfectly loyal to the administrators. Their will is absolutely connected to whatever is best for the administrator. They cannot be turned. I think that at some point, someone in this world probably develops some sort of process, some algorithm, some bit of metacode that can erase that aspect of the psychology of the golem.
You need that in your game because that is a thing people will want as reward and as a quest.
Yeah. So this would be the kind of thing that that like entire missions are about. Like, let's go get this so that we can free the brain shackling of this specific golem that's in a specific facility that has information we need, but they will not give it up. Like, no matter how much we torture them, we can't extract this information unless we free their mind first. And so like you do a whole mission to go get this stuff, which we can call hey, you guys want to name this?
Yeah, so it's golems. So it's like a golem. It's a golem serum. Is it? I mean, what if it's like a shackle? Something about like from freedom, like a flying away, or like a disconnect. Like, what if it's like a catalyst, some sort of catalyst,
like an electric breaker?
Yeah,
like a circuit breaker.
Let's call it a circuit breaker, or something.
Yeah, let's call it or just call it a breaker.
A breaker. Yeah. A breaker is great.
Yeah, so you have to.
What about a brick? Like you brick a machine.
Oh yeah, a brick. Yeah.
Hey, you want some brick?
No, and that also works because bricks can be another substance.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go on like an entire mission to acquire a brick, which is very difficult to produce. Once used, they are consumed, so you can't just keep reusing it.
Yeah.
In order to free the mind of a specific golem to help the resistance later. So there you go.
That.
Incredibly illegal. Every administrator wants all of them gone. They want the knowledge of how to make them gone. And so, like, even the process for creating them is a incredibly tightly kept secret.
That makes complete sense. I say we go back because I think we've kind of exhausted most of this. Social. Let's go.
Social. Yeah. So you can imagine the natural consequences of like, oh, suddenly we realize that the universe is a simulation. We can never know anything about the things that made the simulation. And so people are going to start making conjectures. And so I have imagined there are religions about the society that created the simulation, despite the fact that we know nothing about them and cannot communicate with them or reach them in any way. We cannot know anything about them, literally outside our universe. There are going to be religions around the administrators. There's always bootlickers. And so there's a lot of that. There's people who think that it is better to yield than to resist. And so even if they don't actually like the administrators, they know what the administrators are doing is bad, they're still going to try to stop the resistance because they think that that's how they protect themselves.
Interesting. I did roll 6. So let's go over some social classes and hierarchies. The society of your game.
So the way that I have envisioned the beginning of a campaign of Code World is that the players, the player characters don't know each other ahead of time. They are maybe from disparate resistance cells that are now meeting up for the first time, and they are forced to work together on some impromptu project. Maybe something has gone disastrously wrong, and now they're doing a last-ditch effort. And so the hierarchies of the resistance are going to be a lot looser. but it very much relies on what I learned about resistance cells from a little documentary called Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where resistance cells are always kept separate from each other. They don't really know who else is in the resistance, and so they cannot betray each other if captured. And so they tend to be very small, very contained, which means that you don't have particularly complicated hierarchies. But you do still answer to other like higher levels of the resistance. Like there are people who may come down and say, hey, we need you to go do this mission critically now.
It's very stratified.
Yeah. But it's very like disconnected. There's only like tenuous connections between cells.
Let's do one more, see how it goes. 2, culture. Like you said, you mentioned some, but
yeah, I mean, it is more or less Earth culture. I haven't gone through the process of like, futurifying it, like sort of thinking about how cultures are going to develop over about 150 years.
Well, here's a question. Here's a reasonable question. So like, there's like big cities and there's like suburbs and there's like rural, like nowheres, right? Smaller places. So like, how has that happened? How has that changed in that future?
So, I intend to do some research on this historically about what happens to places like that under extreme fascism, and basically model the world after that. But also keeping in mind, like, what if this extreme fascism had godlike powers?
That sounds pretty bad. I understand why you might not want to live in that world. Let's, I mean, we could do one more, but I think it might be better to go back.
Okay.
We got a lot to cover, guys.
Sure.
Yes. Again, if you just want to talk about your setting in general too, that works. But economics,
I was about to talk about economics.
Go.
Okay, I guess we will get into it. So economics in a world where you can create matter from nothing are going to be quite different. Certainly, money still exists, and it is very important to a lot of people. The gap between like the middle class in Code World is completely non-existent. You have like the serf level civilians, and then you have the military and everyone else.
Nice.
Okay. And so the economics of Code World are completely screwed. But the players don't really interact with that. My intent is that the players don't really interact with money in any way.
It's a backdrop more so.
The resistance has the means to create the gear that they need.
I just rolled a 4. So you said I got commerce. So with that, like there's commerce, I assume, even though there's money and things can be spawned in.
There has to be commerce of some sort, yeah.
Yes. What does that look like?
No man is an island. You can't live entirely isolated, so you have to exchange goods and or services.
Is there Amazon? I mean, is there like Alibaba, eBay?
I want to say that most if not all of the administrators would have sort of like commercial ends, right? They're going to have their fingers in the supply chain at every level. And so, I think for a significant portion of the population, they have access to the goods that they like. They're not living in abject poverty out on the streets, starving, because you can't run a world like that.
It's not Warhammer. It's not like that crazy.
Right. Yeah. They have to have like enough money that they can exchange in commerce and make the administrators feel good about being very rich. Like rich means nothing if no one else has anything, right?
It's like technocratic feudalism or serfdom, basically.
Yeah. So people have money, they engage in commerce, and it's largely recognizable to us today. But just the gap between like wealth levels is so great that like the kinds of numbers that their common person is going to be dealing with are just absolutely, there's a completely different order of magnitude to what everyone else is.
And I did roll a 3. I know you said I mean, like a lot of this is still in the works, right?
Yes.
How do you see from present day to like your current setting, the transition of the economic history or the transition? How do you see that?
So what I had originally envisioned was a kind of like an upward trend as like we discover the meta code and what can be done with it. Infinite resources, infinite energy. We can solve every problem of the world by altering this code in very specific, careful ways. And certainly there are some setbacks, some bad actors, but for the most part, the trend is like kind of going up, like a little bit of ups and downs, but trending upward. And then the administrators arise and they say, well, we want to be all powerful. And so we're going to dump on the entire system and it goes immediately down. This pattern not recognizable to anyone in the modern world. So that's the history that I've envisioned. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to stick with that. That's my first draft.
It seems intuitive, like just reasonable.
Yeah.
And
sort of like we're on the path to Star Trek's Federation, and then suddenly the Terran Empire from the Mirror Universe is like, no, we're going to do it this way.
I'm going to go back to the setting the table. Again, here's what we'll do. You can just talk, or we can roll one more time.
Now, and I get it. Setting colon the table.
Yes,
like
when I said it,
now I understand what you were talking about. Yeah,
okay. I'm not even a big Magic guy myself, but how about this? You can say whatever. I'm gonna roll one more time. If it's something you've already said, then we're just gonna skip. One,
anything. I can talk about.
We're not
anything.
going back.
I can even talk about a boat.
Go.
Every time I envision like a mission in Code World, I'm envisioning it at like the base of a massive arcology. One that's physically impossible in our world and is only possible through like the metacode alterations to allow a structure this massive to stand. It's like at the foot of that. The sky is dark. Maybe it's night. Maybe it's just ever dark in this area.
Like kind of like Doctor Strange, like with the sky. Well, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like in the background there's a CGI of like the skyscrapers like going on each other and like.
Oh, you're talking about when he goes to the mirror dimension. Yeah.
Yes.
Not necessarily like that. It's not what I had in mind, but it very well could be. The cool thing about this whole metacode idea is it's basically magic, and so you can do anything with it.
It's tech magic. Let's be honest. I mean, tech is hard magic. Let's be honest here. We have magic in real life. It's called science. It's called technology. It's a hard magic system. We're still figuring that shit out.
Yeah, I'm anticipating having some administrators flaunt their powers more than others, and so like some of them are going to be a little bit more down to earth, a little bit more mundane looking, and then some are going to be like, yes, I have a floating tower that goes sideways in 7 dimensions. You could have it either way.
Yes. By the way, I meant I guess my mirror dimension. I just meant like the sheer scale of a lot of the imagery in the.
Oh yeah. There's going to be a lot of massive stuff because every action set piece is better if everything's big. Right.
Usually, yeah. We're gonna move on to some of my more favorite parts. Thank you. You've been great. We're not done. What's your plan?
What specifically? Like my plan for the mechanics, my plan for
what is your plan for said project, said game, your plan as a person in general with this
right now, the roadmap as it looks in my head is that I finished getting like the core rules done. And I plan to do a playtest session or two before even developing the classes. Like,
you should. Are you okay? How long have you been working on this game?
I've had it in my brain for a couple of years, but I only just started putting it to paper at the beginning of this year-ish.
Got it. Early test often. I think you have. I think your game has a lot of potential.
Oh, I'm very like lackadaisical about like writing stuff down, and so like I don't have maybe as much of this on paper as I'm making it appear.
It's okay. You got this recording now.
My idea is that I like get the core rules in place, and then do a playtest without class abilities, just to see if the core mechanics are fun and interesting.
Yes.
And if everything checks out and the system works, then I start filling out the classes and the archetypes to be able to make characters.
Saibrock, one thing that's actually been really helpful to me, I mean, Peter, Tales from Elsewhere's community is great.
Oh, yeah.
I've been posting Muscle Wizard stuff on there. It's been very motivating. Like, I think when you have a random idea, like a little brainworm wriggling in your brain stem, just toss in your skull, toss it in there, see what happens, man. Because, like, it feels nice to get feedback. It feels really nice to just get that kind of back and forth. It's really motivating for me. And I recommend you at least put it on a random Discord server. It's better than in your brain, and it's not as good as a document.
The thing is that like despite the fact that that like I crave feedback obviously, but I'm also and despite the fact that I've spent so much time sort of very casually and very slowly making this, I'm actually quite self-motivated. Like I'm doing this for me, so like I don't actually like I'm not saying like I don't need feedback. I'm not saying that at all.
You want to do it your way,
right?
The right way.
Yeah. Like I know exactly what kind of feedback I'm going to be looking for when I start doing tests. And it's not general, like, is this fun? Like, I'll know if it's fun,
Oh, you'll know. But you also need someone
know,
else to run it too,
like,
right?
once I try it out a couple of times, I will know if the core idea is sound or if I need to just start over completely.
Next is business strategy. This is where I grill you. This is the hardest part. This is the final boss. Okay. Do you want to talk in general and then we'll go, or you want me to just roll?
We can do it however you want to do it.
Okay.
I will take me by the hand through this process.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll this dice then.
Okay. We're rolling dice.
How do you plan to create your project?
How do I plan to create my project? I'm currently literally, like in the most literal sense, I am creating it in an app called Pages. I run on a Mac. And so the basic word processor is called Pages, and I'm writing it in that. When I have something I want to show someone, I export it to a PDF and show it to them that way. I've heard of people using like Google Docs.
Yes. I'm a Google Docs, Google Drive appreciator.
I don't mess with that stuff.
That's okay. If you don't want like
Here we go.
benefits, let's not. No, we're not arguing. I'm not done. This is writing. This is 1 out of like 5 to 10 things you need to do. You got the game design, you got the writing, you got the ideas. What about editing it, art, layout, graphic design, marketing? Like, we're gonna get to the marketing, but like the entire project. Do you plan to do a Kickstarter? Like, what's the
full production? Okay,
yeah.
So
Creation.
I intend to edit it myself, or I have a few people that I know who are very proficient with English, so I can get editing done. Like copy editing is easily accessible for me. I was raised by an English teacher, so I am pretty confident.
You're set.
I know that I need artwork, and I'm already kind of starting to put out feelers. The issue is budget, of course. I have no budget, and so it's hard to commission artwork on zero budget.
Nobody saw that mistake.
I certainly didn't.
What?
It's hard to commission artwork on zero budget.
It is, but it's also not, because Peter has a community and there are other ones, and you can find some copyright free stuff and get placeholder art and make a mood board.
No, I'm talking about like for long term. I know that I need to invest in art. I don't know quite how much I need, but I have some ideas. Like I have a short checklist of definitely need this kind of art.
Let's talk. I've been getting some artists recently. Let's talk. So let's talk real shit. So how many pages do you expect this to be?
I'm envisioning maybe 150 to 200 pages,
including
but that's not rules. That's including like setting information.
That's everything. That's a core book.
The full core book, probably 150 to 200 pages.
So I do recommend you start with something smaller, especially because you have a rules-light system. I recommend you start with a zine first, or a pamphlet size, or even just a smaller version.
Yeah,
30,
I mean, like the idea of creating like a light doc, like a get started doc, a quick start.
A quick start and a free. You should make a playtest packet. That is what you need for your game.
That's absolutely on the table. I'm talking about like the product
long term. Okay, and I will estimate that may cost you anywhere from $40,000 to $80,000 for all the different aspects of it. I mean, you're doing some of this yourself, so the cost will be lower, obviously. Now, how much art do you want on there? And do you want it black and white? Do you want color? And how often do you want that art to be?
It feels so far in the future to even be thinking.
It's not. It's not. It's happening now. We're talking about it.
I think I definitely need like a full color splash page art for like the cover, right?
Of course, non-negotiable.
I want the cover to be flashy. I want it to say, "Hey, this is an exciting action-packed game."
Sure, the cover is going to cost you $500, $1,000 easy, maybe more, depending on the quality.
I'm talking about like art inside, like for different character archetype. Like, definitely need at least one art for each class.
Sure,
maybe one for each archetype as
right. Classes, archetypes. It's 12 pieces.
Well,
next.
Yeah. Maybe I think each administrator, because I plan to have the administrators be like canon NPCs, not
so that's generic. 19 art pieces plus cover and back, so 21. And then you probably want how many other random pieces of art? You probably want one in each chapter or section. So let's just assume it's another. Let's assume this is like 25 to 40 pieces of art in this 100.
That sounds reasonable to me. Yeah,
I'm just saying. And if that's black and white, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. If it's color, it's going to be yes. I honestly, so someone I saw, they were able to get art a lot cheaper, a lot quicker, with only using art that only used like 2 to 3 colors, and it still looked really good and stylized. So if you didn't want to keep costs down, that's a good way to do it. But again, shop around for artists. Peter did this the right way. He went to Reddit. He posted what his game is and all the details. He got 100 artists and he filtered through their portfolios. But you can also just find some people. Sorry, I think art is really important for selling the game and marketing.
It absolutely is. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes. So again, sorry for grilling you. This is my main segment right here. Death, please chime in whenever, but you're also.
I think we put Death to sleep.
Yeah, Death. I'm sorry.
No.
Death has died.
No,
this is the
I'm
Alex and
taking
Saibrock
notes.
show.
You're taking notes?
No, I'm taking notes.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking note. Well, I'm talking.
Wait,
but
have you not noticed me this entire time looking down?
no, I have.
I noticed you looking at that. It kind of looked like you were nodding off to me.
Yeah.
No, I've been
Okay.
taking notes.
So I want to see these notes after. Maybe we'll edit them in. So I'm
fuck
gonna.
you.
Oh wow. Okay. So I'm gonna roll my
Dude,
dice.
this
we'll
is
see
your
what
subject
happens.
now. I'm letting you do it.
Okay. What? Okay. This is one of my favorite questions because I wrote it. What are your competitors doing? How will you compete? Real shit.
What are my competitors doing? How will I compete? So
who are your competitors?
The whole reason for the setting of Code World being this, like, it kind of defies specific like genre categorizations, doesn't it? Like, have you ever heard of another setting that is like Code World?
So the only one that I can really think of in my mind palace is Cyberpunk. Everything else, not even close.
Right, but like, and I assume you mean Shadowrun specifically.
No, I mean the actual Cyberpunk games, like the. Isn't there like a Cyberpunk system? Death?
There is. I'm not familiar with the lore of that, but I'm
not talking about lore. I mean, like it's action, gritty, sci-fi.
Oh, I see. I was talking about like the setting itself. The setting.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Never mind.
I can tell
your setting
is completely unique.
Your setting is unique. Your system is unique. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, who are your competitors? What are they doing? How will you compete relative to them?
My goal is to define my game as existing in a niche that is not fulfilled anywhere else.
So you're carving your own new niche. So are the people playing, are they going to be new to TTRPGs specifically? Or are you going to get casual?
They may be.
Because I think that the best way for indies to grow is to not to cannibalize and carve out the existing audience and player base and customers, but to go to the new people, to spread it and grow and your own thing. Because those people will be like, no, they're like, they maybe have not even heard of D&D, and they're like, they know your stuff. Sure. That's important.
And like the idea of like the underdogs resisting fascism is not new. I didn't make that up. There are other games that do that. But as far as like as far as the like the specific setting, my mechanics I think are pretty are not just intuitive. They're novel. You know, I'm using a lot of novel mechanics. Like
almost everything you've said has been novel.
What I want is for the game to offer players an experience they cannot get from somewhere else. So I'm not doing D&D but better.
Okay.
So why
you're not competing,
D&D, right?
You're not competing.
I don't want to compete.
You don't want to compete. You want to stand out and differentiate yourself. Good.
Right.
That's what indie should be. You got to try shit. You don't want to be D&D. You don't want to be D&D 8th edition.
Right. I've done the fantasy heartbreaker. I did it on purpose. I'm going to make a fantasy heartbreaker that I know is not going to appeal to anyone.
I just rolled 3 5s in a row.
Oh, all right. Okay.
4. What is your publishing and distribution plan? Go.
It's super simple. At first, I plan to publish entirely digitally. I'm gonna put it up on DriveThruRPG, Itch. I don't know. Maybe some other services out there as well.
Those are the main ones, but there's others.
That's months or years away.
Sure, it can be less. You can make the small version.
If it goes well, and by the way, like
it will.
The full core rules are going to be cheap, like $5, that kind of cheap.
Saibrock, if you half polish your game, it will go well. I promise.
If it goes well, and there's a lot of support, and I feel like there is a market for it, then publishing a physical book is definitely like the dream. You know, if I can.
And where does a Kickstarter fit into that?
I don't know.
Would you do one?
If I feel like if I do the research and I find out that like that seems like the best solution, there are other things like there's Kickstarter, there's what is it, GameFound. There's multiple crowdfunding services. I don't know if Kickstarter is necessarily the right one.
There's also Backer Kit. Yeah, I think Kickstarter is like the biggest or best one for TTRPGs. I know Backer Kit is like killing it too. You can do both. You don't have to just commit to one, and I think they can connect in some way.
That's true. But in any case, yes, having a physical book is definitely the dream. Like a small hardcover thing, kind of like you see in Blades in the Dark.
Yes.
Like if I walk into a game store and I see my book Code World next to Blades in the Dark, that's
that dream accomplished, mission successful.
Yeah.
Now, how do you plan to get into those game stores? Distribution, sales, marketing, whatnot.
I have no plan. I don't know.
Well, we're talking about it, aren't we? Now there's a semblance of a plan.
That is so far off and not something that I need to be concerning myself with right now.
I agree with you.
I don't even currently have a plan to publish physically.
So I agree with you. I think the earlier you have something that's small and good and you put it out there, the more feedback you get, and the less, like, imagine it's like something growing. You don't want to like nip something in the bud like way later. You want to do it earlier.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't need to be planning. I don't need to be planning like for things that might never come to fruition because what I'm working on now doesn't work out. Like maybe I do my playtest and I find out, oh, actually my core engine is just crap.
Of course,
this actually isn't any fun to play.
You need to see who enjoys it. Yes. Which leads us to, okay, you want to do one more business strategy? Or you want to move on to the next one?
To be perfectly honest, business strategy is probably going to be my weakest segment. I don't do that stuff. I've never done that. So
what
stuff.
You're saying?
Zero experience in this particular pool.
Which is why we're going to do one more.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
I'm being bullied.
This is my segment. I roll the one. Why will your plan succeed? What makes you believe in your plan?
Because
in your project.
I'm the
You're
best.
amazing. Okay,
I think everyone knows that what I make is gold. If my plan succeeds, it will be because of networking that I am doing now. To be honest, I'm in multiple tabletop RPG servers, including Tales from Elsewhere. I have my own community server that is growing, and I'm so proud of it.
I'm on there.
My YouTube channel. I'm out there networking. I'm putting out the word. If Code World becomes a thing, becomes what I want it to be, it will be because I'm putting the word out there now early. I'm making connections. I'm taking feedback. I'm showing people what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Like it's almost like a little live stream in my Code World channel where like every time I come up with a new idea, I'm just being like, oh, go into the channel, type that in. Does this sound neat?
And by the way, Death, I think we're going to move on unless Saibrock or Death, unless you have something to add for this section.
Nope.
Okay.
Any final words? We're not done, but we're almost there.
I think we're done.
Let's go.
Marketing strategy. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. Marketing. Let's talk about ourselves and how good we are.
One. Who is your target demographic or what?
This guy.
Okay,
yep.
Well, that's how a lot of game designers are.
It is how a lot of games. It's not universal. Like I said, my previous project was not for me. It was for people who. It's almost like the tabletop RPG equivalent of writing a children's book. Like obviously you're not writing it for yourself, but you know who you're writing it for. Code World is not that. Code World is like, this is the ideal action RPG that I want to see that isn't.
I understand that. Now, who would enjoy that and who would not enjoy that?
My target demographic is people who are looking for a.
I would say cyberpunk adjacent.
It is cyberpunk adjacent, yeah. And
those people are anime lovers, and they're on the younger side. They're either like 80s appreciators or 20s like synth tech people, or they're new like Gen Zers. So I think you kind of have this like Gen X to Gen Z.
And I really don't want to get into the whole like gamist, narrativist, simulationist debate.
We're not even talking about that. We're talking marketing here, but sure, yes.
Well, we're talking about demographics and
you are talking about demographics.
Predilections for specific types of games is definitely something you have to consider.
But you're doing a rules-like game, right? So this is more like theater kids. This is like your game is fairly So your game is fairly edgy, and theater kids and maybe delinquents, or I don't know, theater kids would like it. I hope this is a family game, is what I'm saying. Like it can be, but not for like little kids, maybe.
It's not targeted at children,
No. So it's young adults, it's teens and young adults.
I would say so. I think. Okay. I mean, like It's for me, and I'm like middle aged.
So you would say teenager to up to your age, which is roughly.
Sure. It's for adults who are. I mean, if we're going to wax philosophical about this, and let's wax philosophical, it's for people who are frustrated at the state of things and want a release. That it is a power fantasy for the disempowered.
So it's for everyone. It's for a lot of people.
Ideally, yeah.
Okay. It just sounds. I mean, the way you described it is like it's for people who have issues and want to express themselves. That sounds like almost everybody.
Well, it's about resisting fascism.
And I think a lot of history buffs maybe some history buffs.
Topic to do right now.
It is about resisting fascism in ways that you cannot normally do in real life. It is empowering people to do things that maybe they wish they could do, maybe they fantasize about doing, but they can't normally do.
Okay, so the hippies would love it. The very freedom-esque like people. The rebels would love it. The artsy people and the rebels and the historians.
You play as rebels, so yes, you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to give you some I'm trying to paint a marketing picture for you, man. Mm-hmm. What's the next question? What is your project's top 5 selling points? Go. You don't have to make them in order.
Top 5 selling points.
Sell it 5.
I don't even know how to approach this.
Unique.
I think that the core resolution mechanic, the whole like dice pool and like spending bonuses and things like that, really powerful in a way that a lot of games aren't. Top 5. Oh, here's one. It has 100% opt-in character death. Your character cannot die without your permission.
Okay, now that is a selling point for a lot of people. Let's call that 2.
Because we value player agency basically, I think practically above all else, and we value the continuation of the story, and we don't let the dice say, "Oh, you don't get to play anymore."
I do that sometimes, occasionally at the table. If the dice really don't want you to play, otherwise I'm nice. By the way, guys, do you guys want to continue? We can finish. Like we're not done, but I do want a little break.
You want to move on?
No, we're not moving on. We have just started.
No, let's move on. Let's move on from marketing.
No, let's take a 5-minute break right now if that's cool.
You want to take a 5-minute break?
Okay.
5-minute break. Go.
Okay.
You can take a 5-minute break. I got juice right here. I'm gonna sip it. This is engaging. Hey, what's up? We haven't got to talk very much.
No. Your core game is so interesting to me. Although I have to ask, why 6? Like, are you going off the 6 is evil or just
no? So what I did notice recently, independently, that the number 6 is popping up a lot in this game. It is just a really good number. Some might say it's a perfect number. That one was for me.
The numbers.
It's enough that a party of 4 can each have one, for archetypes. Say there's 6 archetypes. It can accomplish 6 is in my mind the biggest party of players you probably want to have for a game like this. You go beyond that, it starts stretching things a bit. So that's why I settled on 6 archetypes, and then 6 classes came about as a result of a mechanic that I've already scrapped. That I determined that it was just not mathematically viable, where each class would correspond to a number of enemy characteristics. And the number 6 was chosen because I thought it would make the math work out so that what was it? Any 2 characters were guaranteed to be able to take on any one enemy, but no one character could on their own.
I like that.
That was my original goal. That mechanic doesn't exist anymore.
That's a very interesting mechanic.
Yes. By the way, first of all, I heard everything you guys said. It's
I know.
Whatever.
I know.
Second of all, I think maybe we should have a segment on the show where I just leave for 5-10 minutes and Death just talks to you, to the guest or guests. I think that'd be amazing.
Dude,
that's gonna be in the show.
The candid camera segment.
No, the now. How do you really feel segment? The take the pressure off.
I will happily be silent through the majority of something and then just have these minutes where I'm with my notes hey, let's talk about this stuff.
I want to see these notes, Death, after. Okay. Dude. You did not. You only gave it 2 selling points. I think, if not 3. 6 is just a really useful number. It's a fair amount of variety while still being small and manageable. It's why a lot of stuff ends up being 6s. Yeah, we'll have a segment called Questions with Death.
It also divides well into 12s, and I use D12, so...
Hey, you still owe me like 2 or 3 selling points besides the ones you mentioned.
Okay, so what do we have?
Damn it, I was trying to get off of this. I was trying
No
to
way. We're in the market.
Non-binary resolution mechanics, which is really big and like it's powerful and versatile.
Yes.
Opt-in character death, valuing player agency basically above all else. The game never tells you to stop playing. I had them until you walked away.
Crazy setting, right?
Like from my perspective, I'm not sure if I consider the setting a selling point. It kind of is for me just a vehicle for getting these hoss-ass mechanics on the table.
Like why? Okay, why should someone buy this or like back a Kickstarter for this?
So you can go off a building, shoot double Gatling guns.
How about this?
At a
The
helicopter,
vibes are awesome.
Here's number 4. I'll give you number 4. All the class abilities, all the character abilities, and the things that you're going to be doing are whack. They are so out of control and so outrageous and grand in scale, in ways that other RPGs just don't let you do. You play D&D 4th edition, if you will, since we're all familiar with that, and you feel like a superhero, even from level 1.
I never said I was familiar.
Here's an opportunity: better yourself. Go play 4th edition.
Yes, I will happily run you a game.
Okay, I'll try it.
Do you feel like a
lot of
superhero from level
about
1?
It.
The idea is you feel like a superhero from level 1, and then you go play a game like Pathfinder 2nd edition, which is very similar mechanically, but your character feels so down and limited. You're much more. You feel weaker. This is the opposite of that. This is like, what if we take it in the other direction and to the extreme, where that wall run, running air, teleporting, having literally infinite ammo, that kind of stuff. These outlandish abilities. I described the game once as being like Asura's Wrath meets Resonance of Fate meets God of War.
There you go. Now we're marketing. All right, now I'm going. All right, one more.
So that was number 4. Number 5 is
okay, I'll give you a pass. You just did a rant that counts as an extra one. You're good.
Okay, all right.
We gotta move on. I want to. I rolled a 6. Now here's a very general question. You can take it any direction, but what is your message to others?
Resist evil.
Yes.
Okay. Now
never capitulate. Never compromise. Resist evil.
Your message, the game's message, the setting's message.
That's what it is. At all costs, evil cannot be tolerated. Those who abuse power are the actual worst. And you fight for those who can't fight for themselves.
I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
No, it's not. No, it really shouldn't be controversial.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I think if you disagree with that, you should look in the mirror. Do you want to do one more, or you want to call it here? Because I think I have like one more thing, or this might be it.
Let's move on.
Conclusion. Death. What is your conclusion? And I may have some, and you may have some, Saibrock. Also, the conclusion is also just talking about how do you feel that this talk went? How do you feel about this episode?
Okay.
In general.
Do you want to go first, Alex?
I can hold it, but also like Saibrock, I think you got a lot cooking. I think you got a lot of pots stirring. You're in the kitchen. You're like one cook in the kitchen with like 50 pots. And I wish there were some other cooks helping you, or that you would focus on some smaller pots or less pots. I think you have a great plan. I think that you're set up for success. I do wish that you could speed up the pace. I know you said you have a lot of life stuff going on. Yeah, I think you need a co-conspirator, some accountability group. Just I want you to write this stuff down. I want you to put it out there. I want a one-page RPG version. I want a playtest packet.
Can I tell you that I did? Do you know what National Novel Writing Month is?
I don't, but now I do.
It's a thing where you write like 1,300 words a day for a month, and then you have written a novel, because a novel is defined as like 50,000 words.
I did that like 3 times.
I did that once, like 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm still working on it.
That's amazing.
Yep. So I did National Novel Writing Month, and I'm still working on it.
Hey, the point is to try to do it.
Right. So that's the kind of pacing that I do around here.
So yeah, you can get stuff done. You're just like busy in general. I understand. Like I want to see this game, and I want to play it, and I want you to run it, and I want other people to run it, and I want you to get feedback so you can polish this gem.
Are you looking for a conclusion on this show, or are you looking for a conclusion on like the state of the game or what we've talked about? Like what kind of thing are you looking for?
Yes.
Okay, I have had the opportunity in the last several minutes to reflect on what my long-term plan is, what my goals are, and like what to more like in a more focused manner look at what my path to success is. When
Okay.
I'm playing strategy games, I'm always looking for what I call the road to victory.
Yes.
What series of decisions do I need to make in order to reach victory? Is it still possible? And like sometimes I determine I do not have a path to victory here. I have lost. And I approach life in very much the same way that I approach games, goal oriented. And so I know what my goal is, and I have an idea how to get there, but I haven't played this particular game before. And so
Yes.
I'm just kind of doing what I have heard
Of course.
about other people doing. This has been an interesting way to sort of like look at these specific decision points rather
Yes.
than just a general thought.
And this is what I wanted. I love the direction you're going in. I want you to continue. And I know you're going to course correct if necessary. I think you can move faster if you get someone else involved. I've said this already. I really want to play your game. I want to buy your game. Send me the Kickstarter. I want you to go on this show again. And I want to hear, okay, now we have something. And boom, here it is.
I'll tell you what.
Oh,
I will make you this promise. If I when I finish, let's say when I finish Code World, when it is a done product, I will contact you first about doing a review.
Okay.
Wow. And an episode. We could do a review episode.
We can do a whole episode.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. There's no deadline. This is just in the future.
There's no dedeadline. Yeah. No. Yeah. You don't put a deadline on me. Don't put that evil on me.
Okay. You have 1 year.
Hey man, if you want to set me up for failure like that, you be my guest.
Okay. Okay. Can
can
you make a play test packet or a smallest playable version that's publicly available online in 6 months or in 1 year? No promise, but possible.
Optimistically, I could probably have a playable version like with class abilities by end of year.
Okay, perfect. So my birthday is April 3rd. Before my next birthday, I want this game.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I think we both agree that is setting too much pressure on him.
I am not. I didn't promise. You didn't promise me anything. There's no promises.
There's no promises.
There's no promises.
That you don't have to make a promise to set a goal.
That's right.
That's true.
I will pay you. I am working on stuff too, and if you want to talk about anything related to any part of the game process, the business process, I'm figuring all of it out as we're speaking right now. Part of why I'm doing the show. Yeah. How do you feel about the segments? And like, I'm gonna add some and change some. Like, how do you feel in general? As
a guest, I feel like,
be honest.
To be perfectly honest, yes. I do feel like I was a little rushed.
It was.
Yeah.
I felt rushed because it's the first episode, and I was worried we'd have not enough time. But
I started thinking like, oh shoot, do we have a time limit? Like, I don't know. I don't actually know how much time we have.
Time limit is 2 hours technically, but it's flexible.
All right.
So we did rush a bit.
After you push on after a couple of segments, then every time I started on one of my rants, and I'm very good at ranting.
You are.
I actually liked when you were ranting and stuff.
I want more. Give me more
world
rants,
is
bro.
Interesting. Like in that small little section where Alex left for a little bit, and you started talking about.
That fantastic time when Alex wasn't on the screen.
Guys, you know what? I'm gonna head out. You guys can talk for another 5 minutes. We'll do a second death segment.
Like you said, that like 6 was an easy number. It's half of 12. It balanced out your game and everything. But you also said so each administrator is gonna be like a counterpoint to one of the classes.
No. The original idea that I'm not doing now is that adversaries, like the bad guys that you fight, would have keywords on them, and each class would be good at facing certain keywords. And my plan was to have it set up mathematically so that no one character with 2 classes could take down an adversary on their own, but any 2 characters could. But I looked into it, and the math behind how to make that specific scenario work was way too complicated for what I was wanting for this game, and so I'm not doing it.
Death, you have give us your essay analysis.
My essay analysis?
Yes.
Well, first of all, your opinions on the government of your world are interesting. That these 6 people are essentially overviewing everything else, and they have people under them. Although I do feel, as you said, each one is a maniacal tyrant. I do feel like one of them is gonna try to micromanage everybody. Someone is going to try to be the puppet master.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Your notes on the economy and how everything is going to be made, but they're still faking trade so that they can feel good about themselves being these all-powerful beings.
They have the means to solve world hunger, solve poverty, solve sickness, solve crime. They have the means to do so. They choose not to because it is not beneficial to them.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Wow.
Why should you solve cancer when you can turn people with the dinosaurs?
Yeah, that pretty much. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Any recommendations for me as a host? I feel like I talk a lot, I interrupt a lot. I try to give you space. You're a great guest.
I think you and I bounce off each other quite well. Actually, in a way, almost too well. Because once you and I get going, it's like Death is just kind of like, I'm gonna make some.
He's like watching an intense ping pong match right here, like that.
Yeah.
No, but like I enjoy that because it let me have these notes. It let me like be prepared for these kind of sections where I can like start talking on. But I also don't want to like just start blurting out on my own.
I want to hear more about what Death thinks. You've been taking all these notes. Let's get the notes.
Yeah.
So when you first started talking about your fantasy setting and how that was just you, like, I'm going to put something out, I like that you're like, okay, let's do a small goal before you start to work on Core World itself. The idea that we have understand the Matrix and can start fixing things, and then somehow 6 random people in the world became God, is hilarious. Like, this was a glitch in the system. Someone hit the wrong button in a line of code, and now this happened. When you said that they're all going to base it off their domains, I'm sorry, I am an anime nerd. I immediately thought Yu Yu Hakusho. And the 6 like Guardians after the Dark Tournament arc.
I love Yu Yu Hakusho.
I have never seen Yu Yu Hakusho, but I have seen a fair bit of anime, and I would be lying through my teeth if I said there was no influence there.
I will say, Dragon Ball was partially inspired by Yu Yu Hakusho, is what I will say. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's the other way around.
I have no way to verify
It's the other way around.
Really? Okay. That makes sense. That makes more sense, actually.
Obviously, you're still working on the history of your world and stuff. But 100 years from now, you're saying we're going to find the glitch in the system. Would you say that such a thing would have happened like due to the Hadron Collider and the supposed idea of the black hole it's going to create? Or are we just going to randomly find something that leads to it? How do you say we find the code?
I definitely don't have that nailed down yet. I'm not to commit to any sort of story elements or setting elements until it becomes useful mechanically or for an adventure idea. The way that I originally had it envisioned was that the code was starting to mess up. It wasn't just that we discovered that there is code, we discovered that the code is creating errors. The very first version of this game that I had in my mind was that people were able to basically like cracks in reality. You could like almost reach in and scoop out code and then use that for your abilities. I don't think that's what I'm going for now. Yeah, it's absolutely still up in the air. There will almost
that idea also sounds cool as like someone does that to try to finally rebel against the administrators, just ripping the code apart.
That should be a class, in my opinion. You should definitely branch out in the future. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, the code slinger. That's what it is. So normal people in the setting can't just modify code mentally. It's not a thing you can normally do. They have to have like, gadgets and devices that are designed to interact with the metacode in a specific way, with like, normal and predictable results, like a replicator kind of thing. But code slingers have the ability to understand and write code like on the fly. They can't do it as well as the administrators can, but they can do it, which is why they are really good at like changing the properties of the battlefield.
And then I think business, I already gave my marketing and business spiel to you.
Yeah. Business and marketing is absolutely my weakest area because I've never even tried to get into it before. I've been dabbling in like games and game design for as long as I can remember. Literally when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I would beg my parents for scraps of cardboard so I could cut it out and make board games.
That's awesome. Dude, okay, that's amazing. I recommend find one to 3 generalists with general skill sets that you don't have and make pop off. Literally just pop off with what you're working on.
Oh, just like go find people and yap at them.
So generalists are people with general skill sets, multiple decent skill sets, right? So if you find a couple of those, you can get everything that you need to make something solid for not a lot, or for free if they want to actually.
I would be incredibly self-conscious about trying to do that until I have something to sell.
I disagree. I think once you put it out online, I think
it may well be smarter to do it now. I don't think that I could do that.
You don't need to do it now, but I think leading up to or shortly after you have a playable, smallest, minimum viable product for free or otherwise online, I think that is when you should really consider the next steps.
Possibly. We'll see where the road takes us.
Sure. Anything else before we move on? One last segment.
I don't have anything.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
I've yapped for almost 2 hours about my own stuff, so
Well, that's why we're here, man. We're here for you. We're here for me. We're here for Death. We're here to talk about tabletop role-playing game design in the industry, right? We didn't talk about the industry so much, but that's okay because we're all new in the industry here. Yeah. That is okay. I tried to bring it up. I mean, we brought it up. We brought a bunch of games and what people like. We did it. Yeah. We touched on it for sure. Yeah, here's my link tree. I'm a game master, game designer, and wannabe content creator. So yeah. Saibrock, you want to plug anything, shout anything out? Same with you, Death.
You can easily find me on YouTube, and there's links to my community Discord server on every one of my opinions videos. Absolutely. So I started the YouTube channel first, and then later I made the Discord server ostensibly as like a community for my YouTube channel. What it really is my YouTube channel is there to funnel traffic to my Discord server because that's where I like hanging out.
Well, yeah, it's back and forth. Yeah.
I just really enjoy Discord communities and talking about alternative gaming. Every time someone comes into my server and asks about an RPG I've never heard of, I'm like, neat. I have not heard about this. Let's learn about this new game. I love talking about alternative gaming, game design in general. People are always popping off with questions about, how does this work? How do games handle this? I love those kinds of discussions. That's what gets me going in the morning.
Yeah, so Saibrock, later, if you want, we can maybe put a QR code joining your server or just a bunch of it'll definitely be in the description, if not edited onto the screen.
It can just be in the description. That's fine. Click a little link.
We'll see, depending on who is editing the video and how that goes. Death.
Yep.
Do you want to shout anything out, man?
I mean, your time. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your time here, and remember, the Void is always listening. Sometimes it's worth screaming at it.
Okay, shout out to the Void. Okay, and like I said, I got a YouTube channel and I got other stuff, and give me money or not, whatever. I'll make it regardless.
Like and subscribe, motherfuckers.
Check out Muscle Wizard RPG, and do all the engagement things for the algorithm and all stuff. This was RPGeez.